Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Wyndham Raymond Board of Directors, January 7th. The time is 6:30. Could I have a roll call, Mr. Prince?
Sure can. Kate Bricks.
Here.
Eric Colby. Jennifer Fleck.
Here.
Diana Forsland.
Here.
Marge Cavoni.
Here.
Pete Hensler.
Here.
Jen Moore.
Here.
Don Dillon. Cherry Keene Dwyer. Diana Maciel.
Here.
Okay, thank you. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. First on the agenda, we'll have an update from the Facilities Director, Bill Hansen. And this will be on the, it's going to discuss the playground at the Raymond Elementary School, the bus loop at Wyndham Primary School, and what's going on at the Wyndham Primary School. You can bring, yep.
And the Hutchinson is on me as well, so you have your seats up here.
Yellow love handout.
Paper, thanks. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bill, could you introduce them again?
Yeah,
Because
I will.
I don't think
Okay,
anybody heard
with
it.
me tonight I have Deb Hutchinson, Assistant Principal at RES. And I also have Melissa Messer, who's part of the Parent Advisory Committee for RES. So we're going to talk tonight about a great opportunity for the RES school, but I'm going to start first with kind of giving a brief background of what's happening. Some of you are new. Just so you know, I started with the district in 2009 to start the clock as to where my experience with RES began. And in 2011, we actually started our first investigation to look at the playground at RES. And if you've been to RES and been to the back space of the building, you'll see that it's a very limited space that children have to actually play and run. There's a very limited hard play area for activities such as foursquare and basketball. In fact, often the balls are going into the mud and they're having to clean them up and the kids are getting quite muddy as they're trying to play basketball. So the space is small. So in 2011, we did an investigation to look at, why was it such and what could we do? And I'm not going to bore you with all the steps and details, but the real short story is that what we found is that in the process of constructing the building, they utilized the wooded area behind the school as a buffer for the for their stormwater. It's something that you can do. You need a tremendous amount of land to have it act as a buffer. So that's one thing that constrained that size of that playground. The other portion of it was when they constructed the building, they impacted a significant amount of wetlands. And they impacted wetlands up to the point that they could only impact about 100 square feet more wetlands before they would have incurred a cost of about $87,000 in restitution fees. And so you can picture yourself in a corner of a room. That's kind of where we are with that building at site. So this was kind of started as we were looking at the Frog Pond Trail. If you're familiar with that space, we want to continue the trails out in the back of the RES school area. And to do that, we would have had to cross significant areas of wetlands, and we would have impacted that fee. So that effort stopped at that time. So since 2011, we've looked at ways to try to improve the conditions there. And one of the challenges you have in the wintertime is that the kids slide, the hill doesn't stop, but the trees start. So we've done things such as put up snow fence with hay bales and a few other things to try to address that. But again, the kids want to slide, they want to run, they want to play, and it's on the side of a hill. So that's really kind of the background of how we got to where we're at. So this fall, again, I talked to FST about, which is the environmental consulting firm we work with. What could we do to maybe cut trees down so when the kids slide, they're not going into the woods? In this conversation, we started having the conversation, and it was that point in time that Deb and Melissa got involved and learned about this great opportunity that we're going to talk to you about. So do you want to take over, Deb? I think you're next, right?
Yep, hang on. I'm Deb Hutchinson. I'm the assistant principal at Raymond Elementary School, and I've been 22 years in Raymond, 18 as a guidance counselor, and the past 4 have been in an administrative position. And it's through that time that I've, really tried to focus on what do I want to do for the safety and for the security of that playground. And there have been, times when we've had hunters come onto the playground because it's back to the woods and there's no fence to keep them in there. And the other part is the safety issue, which is they are on a hill, and you can't kick a ball to somebody else without it going down the hill, and then all the kids run down the hill and going into the trees, or the ball goes over the snow fence into the trees, and then we can't play with that for a while till somebody goes and gets it. So Ayana was on our playground. She can tell you that what it was like. And it just really has never been adequate for either the size or the number of children that are out there at any given time. So we decided, I've formed an advisory committee for Raymond Elementary School, and you'll see a picture of the current playground at RES, and it's a great little area. The kindergarten kids and first grade kids absolutely love it, but you get some of the older kids out there and they really just cannot, there's not enough room for them to play. So you can kind of see that picture of it there, and obviously it was taken when we didn't have any snow. You can also see here the snow fence in the background, and it's hard to tell, and I invite you anytime to come in to see how much that slopes down, but there's really such limited space. They cannot play a game without something, football, baseball, whatever, without the ball rolling down the hill. We have had some significant injuries too with that sloping and the way that it goes and some of the things that are in that area. So we do have significant grading area. And then you can see there's no fencing along that back side, right along the side where the trees are. And that's where the hunters have come through before, off the Frog Pond Trail, because it backs right up to Panther Pond, and then the woods are right there. So, we know how important play is for children and exercise is for children, and I really love all the things that Donna Morton's doing with the encouraging the wellness activities, and we just want to be able to make sure that our kids have the best that they can have. And be able to play when they're out on the playground. Now, we did just we've started out, as long as I've been in the school, which is 14 years, we've had 2 swings for 50 or 60 kids. And I know I talked to Mike Duffy was really helpful in helping us to get, help with Bill to get the more swings put in. And he said, what did you do, take a number like at a deli? And I said, no, the kids we have this thing that they sing the alphabet 2 times. And if they've gone through the second time, then the person has to get off the swing. So we've just kind of always done it that way. So when we've gone from 2 swings to 6 swings, and I'll tell you, Alyssa said you could hear the screaming when they went out there the first time and saw those swings. So we have done some things to try to just to expand the area that we have a little bit, or to add to the area that we have. So what do we need to have happen? And we put together a video called Where's Phil? And this video was done by, Alyssa wrote it, and then 4th grade kids performed in it, and Gary Harriman taped it for us. So it's really a sweet little video. And this is what we're using to ask to put forth any grant applications. So here it is.
Wait, we'll get the nurse to have a tick on his back. Where is Phil? I don't know, but it's a concerning situation. Phil will make it better.
So we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about that. That is actually what we're using for some of our applications for our grants that we've already started the process of. Good evening. I just want to say thank you for the privilege of sitting before you tonight on behalf of the Raymond families and students. My name is Alyssa Messer. I am a mom of students of Raymond Elementary School, both currently and in the future. And I sit on the Parents Advisory Committee with Deb, and our job as a Parents Advisory Committee is to support the school, to support enhancing the school, and to assist in projects that we deem necessary at the facility. And our job also is to support the vision and the mission of the school district, RSU14. And part of that vision, as you see before you, it's really fine print, but I know you are aware of it, is to have a safe facility and safe areas for our children to play and be while they learn academically and have fun. During our September meeting of the Parents Advisory Committee, I brought the question before Deb, as to what was happening with the concerns of the playground. You saw some of the pictures. Those of you who have been there know the children are playing around electrical panels, they're playing around that slope, and she talked about how they're actively moving that electrical panel, as Bill has already started that process, how they've done some of the other things that were concerns to us as parents. And I just asked if there was anything else further, and she said nothing other than what she had mentioned and what she's already previously said to you. So in this discussion, it led to me ensuing an investigation as to what possibilities were out there for us to find funding or resources to enhance this playground appropriately to address those concerns of safety and security. And I was really pleased in that conversation to know that Bill and Deb had addressed some of them, but what could we do to do that further? So I held meetings with the staff, with the teachers. I presented information to the parents and asked them to respond to me as to what their concerns were, what they would ideally like to see on the playground. I spoke with the students, and shockingly enough, when we sat with the students, they all said, none of them asked for new equipment or new toys or this kind of stuff. They said they wanted space that was safe to play on and just a big field. And so we took this list from the parents and the teachers and the specialists and the staff, all these concerns, and it launched me onto what can I do about this. In comes the military aspect of this. My husband Jeff serves on the Boy Scout Council of the Pine Tree Council, which if some of you may know that their headquarters is in Raymond at Camp Hines in the Messer Training Center now. And I was aware of a fantastic project they had started last year with the IRT division of the military. And what the IRT is, when the military is launched into a war situation like Afghanistan or Iraq, there's a team that goes prior to all the troops arriving, and that team sets up an entire encampment to allow facilities for the soldiers that are going. That team is the Innovative Readiness Training Team, these IRT teams. So these IRT teams go around the United States and practice what it would be like to build buildings quickly, build clear land, whatever it takes, to run electrical wiring, run plumbing. And so they, instead of just practicing and tearing the buildings down, they practice for communities and leave an enhanced opportunity for communities. In this particular situation, it's the Boy Scouts. So this last year, for example, with the Boy Scouts, they have constructed a road for service deliveries and access that is separate from where the Boy Scouts come in and out at Camp Hines during their summer travels. They're getting ready to, they've cleared the land and getting ready to do a 400-seat dining facility to accommodate all the scouts while they're there doing the camping. They're going to build a new and expanded rifle range there at Camp Hines and convert part of the Messer Training Center into offices for the headquarters of the Pine Tree Council there in Raymond. In addition to the IRT working for the Boy Scouts, they are also involved with the town of Raymond. The town of Raymond has completed a successful application with the IRT to do 6 different projects around the town of Raymond this next summer 2015. And they will be servicing fire ponds, clearing things out, these kinds of things to help assist with the town. So, what does the IRT mean and how can it help us at Raymond Elementary School? What we have done thus far is submitted applications to the IRT process. That is with at the Pentagon, the federal government. That is also at the state level, the Maine National Guard IRT, and that's also at the level of the Maine National Air Guard. So there's actually 3 different applications that have gone out, 3 different resources. And it's under one umbrella though, so it's a little complicated, it's a little bit cross-referenced, but we had to submit all of them by the end of the year. So this great team and many people that are not here with us have pulled all the things together that needed to be done to submit those applications. That was done successfully. We are approved by the federal or state program. It probably more than likely won't begin to work until 2017. There is a slight possibility they could pick us up summer of 2016. By utilizing the military IRT to do this project, RSU could save approximately 50% of the cost, because what happens is the military comes in, they provide the labor, the machinery, and the gas for free. We supply the supplies, the fill, and the fencing. So this program and cost savings for us is a one-time shot, because the federal government takes a look at the United States and goes into a community to service that community, withdraws from that community and goes and services another community. So Raymond is on the screen right now because we have Camp Hines being worked on, we have the town of Raymond being worked on. This is our chance to put our best foot forward and say, we have this project. In their eyes, it's a small project, because they do these massive, sometimes multi-year projects. So it's a really, really good opportunity for us to put our best foot forward. And I will tell you, and I'd like to take the opportunity publicly to say thank you to Eric Tarbox, who's the Scout Executive of the Pine Tree Council. He has given us a tremendous amount of assistance to make this a successful application. He has made personal calls on our behalf to say, hey, listen, we'll be willing to work with them. We're right around the corner to house the soldiers. We'll do whatever it takes to make this project go through. which is incredible, seeing as though we are in competition with a couple other towns in the state for these applications at this point in time. I also would like to thank Don Willard and Danielle Loring, who are at the town office, who have been a great assistance to us, also giving us and referencing their applications as well. So one of the things that was part of our IRT process that we needed to complete is an engineering scheme of what it would look like and what details would go into it. So they want to know that we are serious about this. This isn't us just saying, hey, this would be nice, that we've invested some of our own time and resources moving forward. So Bill can explain what he's done with Dwight and the team there, and you have some of the drawings in front of you, so maybe I'll provide clearer details there. Sure.
What I'm passing out right now is something you didn't have in your board packet, so you can review it at another time. But it summarizes the history of the work that was done, and also summarizes recent efforts, and then my recommendation for a path forward. So what we've done at this point in time is we've developed a conceptual design for what the redesigned or reconfigured back area of the playground would look like. So if you look on the screen now, you can see that is the site plan of RES. And if you look, you can kind of see the frog pond trail, and you see the kind of yellow dot says project location. That's where we're talking about having the work done. So this is a concept design. And the reason I say it's concept because it hasn't been approved by the board at this point in time, and we realize that. But in order to develop a DEP permit, you develop a design that you feel is going to be adequate to meet the needs, and you can always pull it back once you've gone through that process, but you can't expand it from that. That permit is basically dictated on the design that you submit. Because the stormwater design, everything that comes off of this, of however you create that, all goes into the permit. As I said before, the challenges of the existing site is that not only we're limited in what we can impact for wetlands without having significant costs. There also, DEP does not have any stormwater modeling for the two sites. And it's one of the things they're requiring us to do should we move forward with any changes to the site is to model the stormwater. And that's really important stuff because what they do is look at the flows of stormwater, where is it going, and is it being adequately treated. And I think it's all being good stewards of the environment. We understand that's a good thing to have done. So as you look at the design, you can see there's a very appropriately sized square field that was put there. The initial design we put together was actually showing a baseball or kickball type diamond put in there, and the feedback from the staff really said that we need to have larger square space that we can use multiple ways, multi-purpose. So that's kind of how that was shown. It's very similar in size to the maybe a little bit smaller than the single square field that we're proposing in the back of the primary school. So for that grade level, it's about the appropriate size you'd want to have to perform to not only for recess but also for PE. So it's a good size field for that. One of the things you can see in the design is we are providing ADA accessibility to the lower field area. And that's kind of what that yellow loop is that you can see there going down around. So we would be compliant with the ADA requirements, which would be a good thing, and we really have to do that. And then you can see too, there's expanded hard play area. You can see there's a red square by the building, which shows like a basketball area. That's be larger paved area, so the kids could play ball there and not have a challenge with the mud. And then we're also reconfiguring the current other end of the playground where the current dumpsters are right now, making that more of a hard play area and moving that fence and relocating the dumpsters and the storage buildings so that the kids on both ends has a hard play area too, have hopscotch and Foursquare, what have you, but it's not competing with the basketball, which is kind of on the other end as well. So this design was developed, and I'm very thankful for the great work that was done by Alyssa and Deb, really with the input of the staff. What do they really want to see to meet what they think of the educational needs and development needs of the kids? We're not impacting the existing soft play area at all. In fact, we're showing that there's actually space to expand it in the future. Because again, I think it's if you've been there, it's small, and should the number of children increase in that school, I think you're going to want to have the ability to move that so that the work is set up as being all permanent, so that you could expand that soft play area in the future. It's not in the plan for this portion of work, but it's there so that you have the ability to move forward should you need to.
Yeah, and for a visual, what we have right now is that red circle. That is the entire play space for the kids right now, just as we tried to show you on pictures. Pictures don't always catch the width and depth of it, but that red circle in the middle there is the current, what we have to work with right now.
So when we're all done, we can just
Oops,
go back
sorry.
a picture. Just I think that in the perfect world, Deb would like to see there be no hill there at all. And we've had great discussions about that. Unfortunately, the amount of fill that we'd have to bring in is it's not feasible to have no hill there at all. It's just the ground does slope away from the building at such a rate that it just would drive the cost up of the fill just tremendously. So there is still going to be a slight hill. Nice thing is we choose to slide in that, it would slide down on and level out on the playing field. So I think it actually could be a nice asset for the school to have that ability to slide and have that flat area. But you'll still have the ability to access it through that sloping ADA trail.
For a point of comparison, because I haven't seen the hill, how does that compare to the hill at the primary school? The hill where, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's not as steep as the hill at the primary school, but the fortunate thing with primary school is those flat areas they have besides that. And again, to play soccer, there is no flat area up
No, I
here.
just needed a point
Yeah,
of reference.
it's not as steep as that, but it's certainly such that if you were to kick a soccer ball, it's going to take a hard left or right, depending on which side of the hill you're on. And so this design is conceptual in nature, so that we can move ahead with the permanent. Which, if we look at the process that we're in now, the critical path, the first stage gate we went through was to get the application in for the RT process. Okay. The next thing we'd have to would be to move ahead with board approval to get the permitting done for the work. And at that point in time, that would allow us to continue to be eligible for the IRT work. If we were successful in obtaining the IRT work, it would be coming back to the board, here's the project, here's the anticipating funding for board approval to go, no-go on the project. So we're not moving this project ahead without board approval, but there's an opportunity that if we don't continue some of this work, that the potential savings of somewhere between 40 to 60% of the cost of the project, without the RT work, it's really going to make a huge impact on the school. We have to fund the project fully. So the estimate, you have an estimate, engineer's initial estimate of cost for the project. This estimate is if we were going to contract it out and bid it out to do everything. Okay? And there's some things in there that we could call out. I mean, there is some funding in there for playground equipment that we haven't addressed taking out. There's a few other things that come out. But you can see that the total cost, is for some. My eyes are getting right around $633,000. Now, if you're paying 40% of that, now you're talking about $240,000 as opposed to $633,000. So the opportunity is huge. If the board wants to entertain to make this improvement to the site, that you'd be paying 40 cents on the dollar as opposed to the total cost. It is a lot of money. Anytime you move dirt, it's a lot of money. It's just, I wish I could tell you we can make it less, but this is where it comes out. You can see there's a fair amount of money presented in that cost of this project for looking at fill itself. Because there's a good amount of fill that has to come into the site to make that level field. So where we are at this point in time is really, and again, in my notes to you, I'm asking for the board to consider giving us approval to move ahead with the cost of the permitting. I know that you got it just tonight, so I understand this would probably require a different meeting for us to have that vote on that, because I was a little bit late getting this to you, but I'd like to move ahead with that permitting so we can still be in the running for the IRT support, which again would provide the school with a tremendous saving when we move forward with this project. It would be 2017, or most likely if the project were to go ahead. So it's a few budget years ahead. So, at this point in time, it's hard to tell what the budget cycle will look like and where funding will be and what other challenges we may be up against. But as Alyssa said, this is a one-time opportunity. And
What is the cost of the permitting?
the cost of the permitting is around $32,000. And what's involved in that is you have to do the full stormwater modeling of both Jordan Small and RES. And then you have to do the stormwater plans and full drawings of the actual improvements and submit those to the DEP. Now, those would not all incur this particular fiscal year. A portion would be this year and a portion would be next year. But as you, I don't know if you, maybe you were all part of the process. In the primary school, the DEP permitting is about a year to 14 months. And I know I was asked many times, can we make it quicker? And I can't. It's like, you're gonna go grow corn in your garden. It's gonna be X weeks, whether you like it or not, and that's how it is. So, same idea here. It's gonna be 12 to 14 months. So,
The 32,000, are you taking that out of this year's budget, or are you putting it in next year?
it would be a portion out of this year's budget and then a portion out of next year's budget, yes.
And that DEP window is why we need to move forward with it, because if the military says yes, we need to be prepared at the go. We can't start the DEP process at that point in time, because then their soldiers are already here and scheduled to be on their way. So that's why it's in need of starting that right now, to be prepared if they say yes.
Right. Alyssa explained to me that she's talked to them, and their processes, they kind of plan their resources and their deployments a year in advance or more.
Mhm.
So if you can imagine getting the folks here and equipment on site to do this work, it's a year or two out. So they don't want to say, we're ready now, and then we say, well, you have to wait a year for our permits to be approved. So the good news is I think that with the work being done, the conversations with the DEP, they really want to see that we get that stormwater modeling done, which we don't have. So even if for some reason we go through this permitting and we're not selected for the IRT project, we're still in a much better place, because it gives us the ability then, we could still then go and cut the trees in that portion and at least provide some sliding space. I can't even do that right now because of the fact that that space is all being used as a buffer. So I can't really make any site alterations or changes until I have that work done. So there's value in doing and completing the permit work. It really moves the school, I think, back in the center of the room, that you can make some changes and improvements of the site. Because right now we're really kind of in a corner. We really can't make those improvements, even as minimal as they may be.
Bill, is the permitting, the DEP permits, do those have a life?
They do, and I'd have to check with Dwight Anderson and get back to you on that. I know that they do want to see some intent that you're going to go forward when you finalize your permit, which we would be in that time frame as we get towards the end of the permit cycle. But I know the stormwater portion that they're looking for, they're going to buy us some time and ability, so I'll have to get back to you on that, Pete. The permit that we have right now for the primary school, I think, is on year number 3. And generally, when we get a permit, part of it comes with is a stormwater maintenance plan. So it's the permit, once it's issued to you, it kind of lives with the site.
Is the stormwater modeling included in the 32,000?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
So, once you have that, if you show some signs of work, it kicks in and it says, okay, and I say that because if for some reason that grant does not come through and you want to be able to at least have this done so you can get the okay to cut trees or do whatever, as long as you start doing something, this is not going to expire.
I'll get back to you. I believe there's a fair amount of time that the permit will be active, but I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that question. But again, I know we're on year 3 at the primary school now, and actually I'm governed by the stormwater permit that was pulled for the high school when the high school was built. Actually, the maintenance plans are built into the permit, because the permit actually has the design of the stormwater structures and features that then you have to follow maintenance purposes of it. So I'll have to get back to the board on that. I'm not sure.
So tonight, what do you need from us tonight? Or another night?
Well, again, understandably, it's been a crazy month or so, and looking at the cost of the permit, the $32,000 requires board approval. I'd like to move on it tomorrow, and I realize that I haven't given you information. It wasn't in the board packet, so it wouldn't really be, appropriate for me to ask you to vote on it the way I'd like you to. I think we could wait. We could wait a month to do that, or the next board meeting, Alyssa.
February,
Yeah.
your next board meeting is end of
20.
June?
It's January 21st.
So we certainly could wait on that if the board doesn't want to entertain a motion. It is kind of quick on our end.
So just to be clear, you said it was a half and half, the 32 to save 15?
A portion, I'm working with FST as to how much would be on this year. I don't have that finalized. We're kind of going quick as well on our end.
So do you have that extra money in this year's budget, or would you be looking to go over budget to do this?
I will be working with Mr. Davis to have it part of my this year's budget.
Okay.
We had to move really fast because this conversation just started in September, and most people use a year to do the IRT application, and we did it in 3.5 months from the time of researching all of this. So a lot of this, we've just been flying by the seat of our pants trying to get everything together for a successful application. So apologies for.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to. I mean, I think Alyssa isn't giving herself credit. The work that we've done was really significant to get the teachers and educators and the public to give input on what they really wanted to see. I think the plan we have is really solid. I think that work was really done. So this isn't something that we've kind of developed in a corner room and brought to you. I think that part's done real well. So I don't, we are moving quickly on this because of the opportunity and timing. And, we were the 30th of December putting our application in. So we were a day before, and we were kind of that close trying to get this done. But the opportunity to save, half the cost of the project or more is huge. Because I look at what else we could do with that money educationally would be great. And I think the need is there. I mean, we've talked about children playing out in the front bus circle, years past. We don't do that anymore for safety reasons. So now we've lost all the hard play area that was used before. So I think that the need is really there. The space is certainly not what we'd like to see if we had, we're going to build a new school today. And I'm not here throwing any stones at what was done prior, because I'm sure there was other concerns and boundaries that people were working under that I'm not aware of. But as we move forward to meet the needs of what I think is best for the school, this design we come up with, I think it's going to put us in a really good place for a long time too. It's not a do this and then come back in a year or two, we need more. I think it's a permanent solution for the problem.
Nice job.
Go ahead, someone over there.
I was just saying you did a nice job putting this all together so quickly.
Just a quick question. Do you have any sense of when we would hear back
That's a
from
great question.
the military?
That's a great question, and the answer is no.
Okay.
And the advice I've received, I had to do a briefing for Senator Collins and a briefing for Brigadier General Campbell, who are the Pentagon officials and the state officials that will help supply this. It is a process that they go through, and they'll do it their own time, kind of like the DEP process. They have an order, they have a system. We have to cross our T's and dot our I's, and they'll get back to us when they put that big master schedule together. The advantage we have with this particular project is Boy Scout executive Eric Tarbox, who has made those calls on our behalf to personally give our application to the proper individuals rather than it sitting on a desk and me going through the files. That's why we could do this as soon as 2016 in the best case scenario, but probably 2017. He's been a very big advocate on our behalf while the teams are here in Raymond working at Camp Hines. So we do have an advantage with that, but it doesn't necessarily mean we'll get a quicker answer. And we certainly will let you know when an answer comes through. We have received communication from the federal government already asking for some clarifications and additional information, and so they're communicating with us, and that was immediate. So it shows that I think we did have a real successful packet, and it caught their attention. So, yeah.
Fabulous presentation. I can tell you all my children did make it through unscathed, but I did not appreciate that they played out in the bus loop. So I realized you didn't have an option, but they played out front in the bus loop, and it's just a fantastic one-shot deal that we could save a ton of money and really finish the project, because it just appeared that it was never finished. I'm newer to the town, so when we started at RES, it just seemed like that playground area, it was so inadequate. It was terrible, actually. So I was very excited when Alyssa jumped all over this opportunity. So.
Okay, I want to be very clear on the timeline. So what you want is the $32,000 for permitting, and you need an answer as soon as possible. $16,000 this year, $16,000 next year as far as paying.
I'll have to get back to the board on this, on the split. It may be more this year than the 16,000.
Okay.
But I can
But
provide
when you
information.
finalize that, it'll be, okay. We're waiting on government. And my question is, what happens, because I always ask this question, if we don't get it?
I mean, it's a real possibility, but all we can do is put our best foot forward.
Right.
And I think we've done that, and it's like any grant, there are other people that are competing for it.
Right.
Again, I'll go back and say we have a lot of things to our advantage. We're actually considered a pretty small project for the size of projects that they do. So it's a nice tag-along to the town of Raymond. It's a nice tag-along to Camp Hines project. They already have their people. Camp Hines is less than 2 miles down the road. It's a pretty good deal for them to kind of do two at once, but it is a possibility. We could have done all of this work and all the meetings for nothing, but we tried.
And is there, and maybe I'm trying to process all this information, any new playground equipment included in any of these plans? No? I mean, do you see that as a need? I mean, if we're talking the whole kahuna here, is that what is required for safety or no?
The current budget that you have there does show a line item for playground equipment. I think $30,000 was put in that is a starting point that we certainly can discuss as we get closer to the project. If we decide that we can fund those levels, that again the IRT folks can actually install that. So there's a cost savings in that portion of it. So as you're aware, the primary school project, I think our equipment costs were on equipment installation were on $125,000. So $30,000 equipment only would certainly increase your equipment pretty significantly. We are planning this spring to put the monkey bars back up.
The monkey bars.
We are. They were taken down.
The whole monkey bar.
So and we are planning to put them back up. We weren't able to put them up this fall because timing other challenges. I wanted to make sure we get some
Right.
extra play-safe wood chips underneath them, and we just weren't able to put the ground pros. So that is planned for the spring. We bring in more wood chips to do that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a backup plan? I mean, you've done all this, a lot of work, very obvious, a lot of work. Is there a backup plan that if you had mentioned some possibilities of clearing some trees, doing something, you know, has a group said, if this does not come through, this is what we want to do next?
Well, we kind of have supplemented this process. At the same time, I've already submitted applications for grants locally and nationally. I've done presentations with that video of the kids and submitted that. So we're kind of rolling that ball to ask for money from other sources as well. This has been a huge portion of my time. Now that this is submitted, I can put some more time in towards that. So we are looking for other funding, but...
Well, we'll need to develop that as we move along. If we look at our critical path and our stage gates we got to get through, this application was key. The next one is the DEP permitting. You know, obviously, as I said before, the board approval is always going to be a place where to come back to. And based on what we get for grants and funding, that's going to steer us a little bit as to what we can and can't do.
Right.
So, you know, then at the end of the day, we may have to decide that we have to make some changes to the scope to address whatever financial boundaries we may have. But at this time, the DEP permit will allow us to do that full scope. Should we need to, we can always shrink it. Right now, again, I can't even cut trees to allow the sliding hill to extend because right now that would require to do the DD permitting portion. So really, that part isn't lost, and you know we may have to go to Plan B. But I'm going to be optimistic. I think that you know I'm impressed with what the effort, what's gone on so far, and I think that we get a great opportunity, and certainly have a lot of champions working for us. So.
Well, Alyssa knows people.
She's connected.
Pete?
No, I think this has been a great presentation, and I'm in favor of going forward with the permitting process. I mean, I think it opens the door for some sort of expansion, no matter what the source of the grants might be. So, I'm in favor of that. My question is, you said that you'd like for us to vote on it tonight. You understand that you're just coming to us with this now. I'm just wondering what information that we're going to get between now and our next board meeting that's,
What I can give you is a much better accurate information, timeline and spending schedule on the permit. I can have that for you before the next board meeting. I had that in the next board packet.
That would be helpful.
Certainly can have that information to you. And then I can meet with Dawn, and I can exactly show you where the funding will come from for that 32,000, how we'll have that. So those are two pieces I don't have for you tonight.
I think what also might be helpful, because we've just really seen this and heard it all, for the first time. So if any of the board members, after we leave here, have any questions and get a hold of Bill, and if you could respond, to all as quickly as possible before the next meeting, if everybody agrees. I see no reason that we can't have that on the agenda for the 21st. It looks like everybody, did your head go?
yeah. That will work for you in terms of the time frame?
That'd be great. Again, I'm looking at 12 to 14 months, so we're able to start shortly after January. That certainly meets our timeline, because just to we didn't go with timeline very much here, but the work wouldn't start until school was out. 'Cause we really need to take over the entire site. Can't have that equipment on site with kids on site. So, it really is the window of when last day of school, first day of school. That's the window we're in for safety purposes. So, if it's a 14-month for the DEP permitting and we start in January, we're still going to be done before we need to hit the shovel hit the ground.
So I'm hearing this is going to be on the agenda at the next meeting? Okay.
Yes, well, thank you. Great presentation. I think you did an excellent job in a very short period of time. Kudos to the whole group. I don't know how big your group is. I know you've joined it. But excellent.
And we invite any of you to come out and take a look at the playground if there's any other answers or questions that you want to talk about.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've got one more just while it's on my mind, because we were just talking about timeline and wanting or needing to start it when the kids aren't there. I mean, is the IRT flexible with those kind of times?
They certainly, we put it in our application. They understand it's a school. These people are incredible. If you are familiar with Camp Hines and familiar with what they've done this last year, they've been doing that while they had camp going in session, and it is unbelievable what they can do in a specific amount of time. It's really quite an incredible operation. They are military, in and out, and they're just unbelievable. So
Cool.
we made it very clear to them that is something that we need to happen.
Great. Any other questions? Anything? I think we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Excellent.
I'm not going far, don't worry.
Okay. That's all right. I think Chris will give you a little bit of leeway here.
Thank you, sir.
It is wicked hot in here. I'm dying.
Give me two, right?
Thank you.
Thanks.
If you have an extra, for Brian and thank you.
The board asked me to give you an update on the primary school project. So, again, I won't go through the entire memo because I know we're short on time, but just kind of give you a quick roll the clock back, because some of you weren't here when the decision was made to move forward with that project. The facilities director prior to myself, Brian Kenny, as well as spent a fair amount of time looking at options to improve traffic flow around the primary school. And when I got here, it was something that we looked at as well for a period of time since 2009. A lot of school board members have been down and watched the arrival and dismissal at that school. It is very challenging. In 2013, we put our RFP out to address the site needs of that school. And at that time, we bid it out. Grover was the was the low bidder for the work, and the board approved elements 1 through 3, the 4 elements of the project. So just real brief, elements 1 through 3. 1 is to create a separate bus and parent drop-off loop in the front of the building. Right now, we have been working with an interim plan. The side parking lot we built for staff parking, which also was a challenge in that site, we're using as a parent drop-off. Prior to that, the children were being dropped off in the bus lane while cars were competing for the space too as well. So the nice thing is our interim plan right now, we are having kids dropped off in a dedicated parking space, but it was never intended to work that way. But I think that it's working as as best as we can. So that's element 1 was the front portion. Element 2 was that side parking lot that we did get completed that first year. Element 3 was the soft play areas for the new playground. There's 2 of them, and that was completed actually past summer. The second portion of it was completed, so the 2 playground pods were completed. Then element 4 was the expansion of the playground. Very similarly to RES, the primary school's playground is small, and the other challenge you have is they use the Seahouse playground, which is up on field 5, which the challenge is it's up a hill to get to it, and then if you are a rambunctious little boy that I might have been when I was younger, and you decide to run from 5 towards 6, there's nothing that stops you. You can go and go and go, and that's a real challenge for staff, supervisor-wise. There's no boundary in that portion of the playground. So the plan was to create a playground that was appropriately sized, that had a fence boundary, that had good visibility, that has cameras on it, so we can see what's going on, the whole kind of finished project. So where we are right now is element 2 is complete, element 3 is completed. We have not completed 1, we have not completed 4. So in this here, I have a recommendation to the board. What I'll do is let you look at and review it, and then we could have another meeting to go over your input on it as to what I think we should do for this year coming up. It does impact me budget-wise as to how I go forward with this. So my plan is I'm gonna work my budget with my recommendation, and we can always change it with your input. So that just gives you the feedback on where we're at. I'm happy to answer any questions, and should you have questions on the project outside this meeting, I'm always available. So that's pretty much what I have for right now on this. Let's go with the questions.
Just a quickie.
Yeah.
So now we do have our permits, so the bus loop could be completed this summer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
On that note, when I'm looking on page 2, element, and you say we have available funding of $355,000, and then I go down to element 1, and that's $535,000, so it's not fully funded?
Correct. What happened is we, over a period of 3 years, funded $600,000 in the capital reserve specifically earmarked for the primary school site work improvement project. The cost of just the site work, not including contingency, not including escalation or engineering work, was about $1.2 million. So that was a shortfall from what we would need to do to complete the project. So the plan was to stage the project in elements. That's why we did it as 4 elements, is time and money allowed to complete the work. So we did complete elements 2 and 3. The plan last year was to look at completing element number 1, and at that time, the decision was made not to fund that money in the budget, wait another year. And we focused on completing element 3, which was the playground equipment.
Thank you.
So the project is fully permitted. The only thing that we would have to do is, at the time when we presented the project, we stated our intentions to the town and to the DEP that we were going to move. Our intention was to move on 1 through 3, and then to move on 4 at a later date. And they just asked that we come back to both the town and the DEP to state that we were financially ready to take on element 4. So, okay.
Okay. This is a bit to digest. I guess I would ask anybody who was not at the original meetings, if you have the opportunity, drop in and see Bill. If you don't have that up, at least give him a call. If you have any question, which you will have, because we went through quite a few of these meetings, and it's not as easily understandable if you were not there through the process. And we will have to set up another time.
Yeah.
Hopefully before we get to that part in the budget. Great. Do you have any, does anybody have anything like they really hot that they gotta say? Okay, great, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Bill.
Bill.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Okay, moving on. Sorry, Mr. Howell, to make you wait, but Chris Howell, the Wyndham High School principal, is here to give us an update on the program studies.
Truly in the hot seat tonight.
We haven't passed those out.
Okay.
Can I help you?
That would be great, Don. Pass those out.
Is that this one? Is it this one here?
That's right.
Well, you got one, we're good.
Good evening.
Well set.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that in 5 short months, we'll be saying goodbye to Ayana and to her classmates as they graduate from Wyndham High School and move on through ceremony. And so this is the time of year where we're already starting our preparations for the incoming class of 2019 and getting ready for those students to then do course selection and getting ready for budget process of making sure that we have all the different courses and levels and things that we need to do in order to meet the needs of students. Traditionally, for those of you who are new to the board, any changes that we make to our planning guide, we bring before the board for discussion and for approval. And then those changes, once they're approved, then make it into our course selection guide. And then as students start to select classes, that's where they then make their selections from. Each of our students, when they first arrive to Wyndham High School, receive a planning guide like this. This is the one for 14-15. Students receive it during their freshman year, and then beyond their freshman year, we then use technology, and all the selection guide processes become electronic. And so what I'm bringing forth for courses for you tonight represents some changes that high school staff are proposing for electives and for your consideration and for your approval. Once they are approved, or the ones that are approved will then be placed in this, and then will also be put into an electronic system that we now use called Naviance, and that is then beginning to then develop a student's 4-year pathway, so that when a student enters our doors as a freshman and then leaves as a senior, that they've built a course of studies that is then going to allow them to move on to something beyond Wyndham High School. And I think probably Ayana by now and the rest of the school are sick of me here saying that Wyndham High School is not your destination, that in fact you're going on to things beyond the doors of Wyndham High School. So in front of you, and I'm probably the best way to kind of proceed through this, is that we have 2 departments that are proposing courses as additions. The first one that you see on your very front page there is a course called Mythology and the Modern Hero. And I'm not going to read it for you, but it would be an elective course through the English department that students could take. And literally it's that connection between some more modern pieces of literature and how they connect to mythology and then, again, the modern hero. So we often don't think of Harry Potter being the modern hero, but many have read the series, and using that as an instructional tool and a discussion tool would be the format. What Mr. Broussard, who is the leader, the curriculum leader for that particular department, has given you are reading standards, the writing research standards, and the speaking and listening standards from Common Core that particular course would cover. And most of you all are aware that we've been in the process at the high school of really mapping out where our standards fall. These would then become additional opportunities for students to meet those standards. So that's the first course, and I'm not sure if there's any questions about that.
Just what's the 9-10? Is that the grade level?
Those are the particular standards that have been mapped out for those reading standards. Most of our electives beyond English 1, 2, 3, and 4 are open to any student who want to take that. The reason why these say 9, 10, Pete is that for the process that we've used for mapping out graduation standards, we have completed everything for 9, 10 for all of our rubrics and our measurement tools. We're still working on the 11, 12. And so once 11, 12 is finished, then we also can map those to make those connections. And all of those go through a vetting process to make sure that we are meeting the spirit of what was called for in Common Core in that particular course. What will appear actually in the planning guide will just be the top part, which is the mythology and the modern hero. And also another piece, because I know we do have some new board members, courses in your board policy have a minimum enrollment size. And if those courses don't meet those sizes, we don't run them. And there are courses that appear in the course catalog that may or not have run for a couple of years. But we look to where students' interests may lie. And, this particular course may actually have a great student following and a great student interest. Okay, any questions about that? And I'm going to page 2. Allied Arts and Allied Arts Department consists of our art department, our music department, and our business department. Sometimes they're affectionately known as the Island of Misfit Toys because they carry so many different particular course areas that are covered within that particular department, whereas most of the other ones are singletons.
I've never heard of Allied Arts. This is the first I've heard of them categorized this way.
Well, that's how we categorize them within our planning guide and within the structure. And Diane Levitt is the curriculum leader for the Allied Arts. And again, she covers a wide variety of departments or content areas within that. The first one there, woodworking and sculpture, is a particular interest. And if you also, for those of you who follow art instruction, you know that each of our art teachers have their own individual interests and strengths in which they work to support students. Jeff Bell really has a strength in pottery and drawing. Kim Chassé is in photography and drawing as well. And then Joe McLaughlin, who's new to us, does a mix of drawing and sculpture. And so one of Kim's passions is the woodworking and woodworking sculpture. And so this would be a new course for us. The other thing that it might also help to do is that we, as many of you know or maybe you don't know, we still offer wet photography at Windham High School, which is traditional 35 millimeter film with a darkroom and going through the whole developing process. That's starting to become expensive to continue to run that course. That course has a significant lab fee. And so we're starting to see numbers dwindle a little bit in that. And so, one of these other pieces here, would be additional opportunity for students to do a course that may actually cost us a little bit less to run. Also, as another point of interest for the board, all of our art teachers teach 6 classes a day. They're basically booked every period for every quarter. And it's very difficult to actually get into an art course right now at Windham High School. So definitely it's a 3-person department and they are booked to the max, which is fantastic. It's a fantastic department. And what they're able to do and how they're able to really challenge and students' creativity. Okay?
Chris, is there an additional cost in this for the
There isn't
for
an
the
additional
tooling?
cost. No.
So when you have a class that's more people want to sign up for, then you have space. How do you determine who gets in and who doesn't?
Typically, we go with upperclassmen, have the first opportunity to take that course, because obviously an underclassman may have an additional opportunity at a later point in order to be able to do that. But as working with some students on second semester schedules, it's difficult to find a slot for a kid right now to take those courses, which is a great problem to have. But it's an indication that the courses that they're offering and the opportunities they're offering are truly focused in on meeting the needs of students. And the other thing that it's also a result of, and a couple of years ago as a board, you approved some changes to, used to be you had to take a beginning course, and then in order to then be able to, you had to take drawing 1 before you could take advanced levels. a lot of those prerequisite courses were removed, which then opened up student schedules and then opened up opportunities for students to take courses. And we've actually seen greater number of students who are then pursuing fine arts through the arts that way, which has been great for us. Any question on the art? All right, let's move on to where we're actually going to see some of the greatest changes in the course planning guide, and that's actually within our business department. And really changes are happening for two reasons. First reason is that the traditional business simulation class that many of you are used to through some of the fundraisers and things that they've run has run its course. And so that course will no longer be offered as a segment. Business Sim 1 or Business Sim 2 will no longer be offered at Wyndham High School. So the first course that's actually going to start to take a look at filling that gap is what's going to be called Business Operations, which, transitioning students from really a fundraising focus to truly what does it mean to work in a business and run a business. So that particular course, that full credit, will be a full year. And so one element that I did not include in the planning guide changes for you when I sent you the board packet is the fact that that course, Business Sim, will no longer be offered and will be pulled from the course catalog. And that's also a course which also started to see some dwindling enrollments because, again, it's saturated and has met its needs, and I think it's met its time. The other big change, or the other reason for some changes, has been the implementation and the support of the board for new technology at Wyndham High School. And of some of the subsequent pages that are here, we're seeing some renaming of classes and some changes of classes because, for instance, in spreadsheets, we would offer Excel. Now students actually have two forms of spreadsheets on their Macs, and so looking to either use Excel or the spreadsheet program that's offered through the Mac platform. You can give me the face, Ayanna, with spreadsheets. Someday you'll learn to love them. Someday that you will learn to love that. But I'm going to actually take you to...
There?
Say that again?
Are you giving the students the choice as to which spreadsheet they want to learn?
They're going to be learning both.
Oh, okay.
Both of which have similar elements to them. But the other pieces that you will see, and I'm actually going to take you to page 3 for that, page 3 of the business ones, where it starts at the top with keyboarding, and presentation, spreadsheets, word processing. In the past, with these courses and presentations, you would have seen PowerPoint, and now it's PowerPoint and the presentation program that is Mac, so students are being exposed to both. Same thing with spreadsheets. Word processing is not just its pages and its Word. So that students will be exposed to multiple platforms. Another element that you'll notice for those of you who have been used to our course catalog for quite a while, oftentimes courses would be connected together so that spreadsheets would be connected to the database management program. Instead, those are now being spread out as separate quarter courses, because what we found is that students could fit in a quarter course in their schedule for a particular element, but if you took a whole semester out, it became difficult. And so trying to give some flexibility to students to a particular area of interest that they might have in one of those application suites. The other element, and really that's the connection to purchasing the Mac platform that you've done, is there's a tremendous amount of creativity software that's included on those platforms, which we have not really had the opportunity to offer much for students. And so on the next page you'll see iPhoto, iMovie, GarageBand, and those are specific to those programs that are available. And the nice thing, and I'll go back to Marge, your other question as far as cost, that's software that we own. And so this becomes a guided opportunity for students to explore those through a quarter course. I'm going to do the last segment, and then I'll go back to those first couple college communication and website development. We offered introductory Java this year. It has been a very popular course, and enrollments have been very, very healthy. And what has been mapped out is actually a 4-semester pathway for students to really work on a Java certification through Wyndham High School. And the students who have been involved with this program have actually had quite a bit of fun, quite a few benefits from it, and have truly increased their programming skills. And so really taking the focus away from just creativity tools and from using things like word processing and presentations to now getting some computer programming, which is a transition that I think we need to make as an entire department at Wyndham High School. So this is kind of those beginning steps of transitioning what happens for business.
I'm probably showing my age. But is programming the same as coding?
Coding is, I could be entirely wrong here.
So you're
I'm
with
going to go
me.
from my understanding.
Okay.
Yes, the grays are there with me as well.
Okay.
But the coding is a form of programming,
Okay.
is my understanding. And we did our day of code.
No? Where's Eric?
I know. He's on the click now.
I would be, how about this? I'd be happy to bring that piece of information back to the board.
Well, I only ask that because I read a tremendous amount about coding and coding being offered in schools. And so if this is coding, then I'm a pretty happy person. And if it's not, I'm just wondering what your take is on it, or your department, or the trend in Maine is for offering coding for our students. It seems like, from what I'm reading, that's a skill that would really enhance job opportunities. So I'm curious to learn more about that.
Okay. If you would allow me to get back to the board
I will.
on that would be great. Because I will honestly say my personal knowledge of computer programming is...
I'm with you. I do, if under the, while you're talking computer though, I do have one other question. And it's regarding the sheet that has the keyboarding and the presentations. That one, it's not numbered, but y'all can find it. Computer proficiency is, you know where I'm going with
I know
this.
exactly where you...
Okay, well, talk to me.
This is, we'll go back to when initially computer proficiency was placed in Maine statute for students to be able to demonstrate computer proficiency. Computer proficiency at that time was when computers were a novelty in schools. And your first personal computers were actually hitting markets, and it literally was students being able to have basic proficiency, being able to navigate how to turn a computer on, how to be able at that time actually to use the old 5 1/4 floppy disks, being able to do some basic programming things, learning how to use a mouse, learning how to use a trackpad. That was basic computer programming, and being able to do some basic word processing. And the tools that now every student at Wyndham High School have in their hands, they're meeting what was designed or what the spirit was in the law of basic computer proficiency when that was written. And so right now we have Wyndham Middle School students and Raymond Jordan Small students who come through the systems. They have computer classes, which hits also and supports those basic computer pieces, and actually as in starting in the early grades 4, 5 up and through, it's meeting basic proficiency. I think what we're looking to provide here for students is additional work and additional support, but if they've come through those programs, they met what was originally designed, again, for that basic part. We do also offer to students, and it appears in the course catalog, and I'm on the keyboarding, presentation, spreadsheet, word processing. Students can also earn credit through St. Joe's and SMCC if they complete these elements over the course of the year, and also they can earn 3 college credits as an additional computer programming part.
The timing for keyboarding there is really good, because now that the middle school has iPads, kids have gotten away from keyboards, like keyboards.
All the thumbs.
Yeah.
No,
and
they don't have it.
And even when you're taught, they do have some, but nobody makes use of the keyboards. None of the kids have asked to use them or anything, so it's probably perfect timing.
I'm going to take us back to, I think it was the 3rd page, which was the original Allied Arts, before I went to the foray of the Mac platform and what we've done. 2 other courses that are being proposed here: how to increase your reading speed, which are just it's a talent or skill that all of us could actually benefit from, and is working with students through the element of building that particular skill. And then the last course has actually come through some feedback we received from many of our freshmen who've come back, who many freshman courses now are almost entirely online or have an online component to them where students are having to either pass in papers, they receive instructions, they're having to collaborate in an online environment. And we do some of that through Google Classroom, through also the wiki spaces that teachers offer, through Moodle, which are all things that are meant for teacher-to-student communication. But we don't necessarily offer a course for, what does it mean to be a first-year college student and you're using Dropbox and you're having that online communication. So one of these things that we're looking to do is actually to do this course online with students for the practice. Obviously, they'd have somebody in the building who would have that opportunity they could interact with if they ran into problems, but it's good practice going into a college environment, being able to have that skill.
Can you go back to increasing your reading speed? What prompted the inclusion of that one?
One of the individuals in the department has a strong background in literacy and reading, and as she's worked with her students, has noticed an area that kids would like to be able to increase. So thought it would be beneficial to, as an elective, to offer that to students. And I think, let's go to the next page. Computerized accounting. We do offer accounting as a math course. This is taking that from more of a book-based to an online computer-based one. And really becomes another opportunity for students to learn that skill of accounting, but transitioning away from a traditional paper journal to an electronic journal. And then moving down through database management, that's actually transitioning from just a straight access course to a combination of what's offered in for a database within the Apple platform. And then internet website development. We've actually had a website development. This is basically it's the exact same course, and I think I copied and pasted incorrectly. That's already a course that you've approved. Shows my technology skills.
So I'm wondering, back to the keyboarding presentation spreadsheet page, has there been any thought about making those required classes? Because it seems like this is the foundation they need to be successful in a lot of their other classes, and especially in their capstone as we get to that point.
This actually, it's a great question, because at one point they were required classes. And what ended up happening when it was at a time where they were required classes, and for those of you who've been on the board for a while, I might remember this conversation, they actually started to, what's the word I'm looking for here? It became difficult for students to fit many classes in. And what ended up happening is that students, instead of taking an advanced math or science course, were actually having to go back to do a keyboarding class. And so there was great discussion, I think, at the time at the board level, as well as the community, is what things can we do to make that a little bit more flexible, because it's actually hampering from students from doing some advanced courses. And that conversation goes all the way back to, I think, 2004, so almost 10 years ago now, of that was a requirement, because at the time computer proficiency was a course requirement. And so students needed to demonstrate all four of those elements in order to be able to then be deemed proficient, and then in order to be able to receive a diploma.
And it's not so much about being proficient in these things, but these are the tools that they're going to need in their other classes. So I think if they can't work a spreadsheet well, they're going to get held back in accounting, not because they don't understand accounting concepts,
Right.
but because they're not getting the spreadsheets. So
What's interesting with the presentation is that within the Common Core standards, presentation skills move out of a business atmosphere to science, technology, social studies, and English language arts. And it's actually one of their standards that they need to complete, and it specifically actually outlines being able to be proficient within tools to be able to convey a message to a body, or to plan a message, or to share with a group.
So is the presentation class more than just how to put together a really good PowerPoint deck and how to present it as they get into
There is some
that piece?
presentation, but it doesn't have the same focus of presentation skills that you would have within the courses that it's designed to be an integrated portion of. This is really getting to how do I use the tool, what are the elements within the tool within a 9-week course. So it's how do I change fonts, how do I make things pleasing, how do I not go beyond 3 points on a PowerPoint slide. Starts to get into those elements.
Okay.
But that's been an ongoing conversation now for was actually the first element when I was back as curriculum director. That was the first issue brought to me.
Yeah.
Was the fact that that was a requirement, and it was really jamming up kids' schedules.
You know, I recall those conversations, but I also see your point, particularly as we move forward with the capstone, that one of the things that you had mentioned is the presentation and speaking in public. And speaking in public is an important skill for many vocations, especially if you want to be an attorney. I'm just saying. But anyway. That's interesting to consider in the realm of the capstone, which I know you're going to be coming back to us again in February with that. And I think I even mentioned it when we were talking initially about capstone. I want them to be given the tools or taught how to put this whole kahuna together. And just to tell them, well, go on, put together this presentation and then come back to us and do it. We might not be serving our students well if we don't say, hey, these are the components of important components of a presentation. Because that's the bottom line for them with this whole thing.
And
so
I think I would argue by the time you get to senior year, that's too late. Those should be elements and skills that are taught along the way.
Well, it's important through high school too. So, you know, and you haven't come back to us with, as far as the timeline of when do we really start beginning this capstone process. And maybe it is freshman year. It's not so much come up with your idea. It's let's give you the foundation first, so that then you've got this. Now pick it and go.
Because
So I don't know how you have that worked into your thing.
And it really comes down to, I mean, if you look at what we want from a Wyndham High School graduate, we want individuals that can form an argument, that they actually can then express that argument and then can, have that opportunity to present that in a way that's clear, understandable, and that somebody else can understand where they're coming from. That's something that we want from every single kid, whether it be in a capstone or whether it be in a lab report where they're trying to describe the activities and functions that took place within that, or within their math homework.
So are there venues now, are there classes now where those skills are taught?
There are classes where those things are taught.
Are they standards? Are there standards for these things?
There are standards for them.
And do they start at 9th grade? Or,
They do. They start. Nope. They do start in that 9-10 component, and work their way through 11-12.
I can tell you, though, just in case you're nervous about the kids really know how to use this stuff, with the iPads, my daughter does PowerPoints in many of her classes.
I'm not worried about
So, you know what I mean? They're
program.
receiving instruction in middle school on how to, it's not like they're going to end up in 9th grade and they have no idea, because they already have their iPads in middle school.
No, I'm not concerned about that.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about is what are the components. Putting together a stack is easy. Putting together a good stack for presentation is a whole other thing. I mean, if you know the mechanics, that's great. But what are the components? Look at you smile, just talk.
Honestly, I think everyone should be able to do should be required to do a presentation without the crutch of a PowerPoint or stack or any of those other things. I mean, I think the ability to.
And it's a skill.
Correct. That needs to be practiced and taught.
And actually, it's a skill that really should start in middle school.
Right.
So that it isn't all of a sudden a culture shock. You get into high school and it's kind of like, oh my God. I mean, it's bad enough you're going to something that makes you a little more grown up, but to be thrown into something that all of a sudden that is a different culture, a different environment totally. So, there should be some lead in, which there might be, I mean, I'm just talking, but it should be some kind of a lead-in in like 8th grade, so that you're kind of becoming acclimated to it when you move on.
One thing I would, going back to the course planning guide, one thing I would like the opportunity to come back to you in the future is to bring back and do a demonstration of Naviance, which is what we're really in the beginning stage of implementing. One of the parts of it or one of the modules that I think is going to be the most powerful thing for our students is that it takes our course planning guide, and depending upon what it is that you would like to do when you leave Wyndham High School, it outlines for you the courses that you should be taking and the levels of those courses that you should be taking in order for you to be successful, in order also for you to meet the application requirements and the admissions requirements for whatever program that you're looking at beyond. And it would be great if we could have the opportunity to do a demonstration for the board to see not only the rich variety of data that we're able to then show with that. The other thing that it's allowed to do us this year is to be able to track our graduates out for the last couple of years. And so, you know, it's been neat to see the fact that class of 2013, for those kids who enrolled, 90% of those kids are still enrolled in the programs that they enrolled in.
Now that you've committed yourself, do you have a time frame in mind that you'd like to do that?
March would be great.
I'm thinking though, it's under the larger umbrella of guidance. Because it's really, what are the elements that go, you know what I'm saying?
And I think not only into the elements, but it would also be good to share with the community the work that's been done through our partnership with Melmac and for Jobs Remain Graduate through Nicole Sturgis's position, because that has had a significant impact, and she has also done a lot of the background legwork for making this program happen and all the different elements of things that need to be loaded in order to be able to then have that opportunity for students. So it would be great at some point to just be able to give an update and also to show you the tool. While it's not been one of the largest investments in technology we've had, it definitely is having an impact on kids for the positive.
And you're still on track to come back in February for
Still on track to come back in February.
Sorry. What bad is this shit?
Are we supposed to vote on it? No, okay.
No, but when do we vote on, or is this just a
Vote on it next time.
next time? Calendar's filling up.
They always do, don't they?
Does that work okay for you, Chris?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I mean, we don't go to draft. I mean, we send the draft to the printers, and actually, many of the courses that you saw tonight usually aren't taken by freshmen anyway, and they're the only ones who ever receive a printed guide. The last thing that Sandy just kind of asked me to give you a quick update on, because something that came out of budget last year when we were looking at RLP. At the time, we were talking about it in the budget because we weren't sure whether or not another round of funding would be offered through the grant for RLP. That round of funding never did materialize. So it's a good thing that a program that we rely upon for students who have gone through some sort of an educational disruption, that we did support that through the last budget in order to allow students to then have access to it, because it was not offered through an RFP for us to be able to then fund it through grant funds. And I know we talk about something like that in budget, and then we never have a chance to come back and revisit it. He thought it might be helpful to just give you that little bit of an update.
So is that a done deal? I mean, there is no possibility, there's like nowhere out there.
Any time that
Get funds.
money comes that might be like that we can, if anything, that program needs to be expanded. We are running it on a shoestring right now, and running at minimal capacity. Anytime that we can find grant funds to support that, and not only increase what we can do for students, but increase student engagement through that program, we're going to pursue that.
So this will be in your budget then, again?
It will be in the
seeing as
budget
grant didn't
again.
come through. Okay.
Who does your grant applications? Is it a dedicated person, or is it just whoever's involved in that particular program?
The grants that we've done have come out of personal interest of individual staff members. The largest grant I think that we've received in a while was the PEP grant, which was a combination of several staff members. That was probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and that was administered by staff members as an extra duty to their position. But any time that there's individual or specialty grants come along, it's usually somebody says, you know what, I see where that could have an impact on the school, and they will pursue it on their own.
Does anybody have anything else? Yeah, all set.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It looks like we're going to see you once a month.
I know.
Or more.
We're sorry.
Huh?
It's nice to see.
We're glad you like us.
Sorry for him. Yeah.
I'll put up with it. Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda, and this wording is directly from our legal counsel. As everybody's aware of, there is a Raymond withdrawal committee, and the board has to also have a withdrawal committee. And it was the recommendation of the board it was the recommendation of our legal counsel that it not be the whole board, and that the members that we did pick did not include naturally any Raymond residents, because this is an agreement in a group that is going to initiate an agreement that will look out for the Wyndham side. That's what they will be looking at, is the Wyndham side, when they meet with the Raymond withdrawal group, which is made up totally of Raymond folks. So I think I explained it a little bit. So if somebody wants to make a motion.
I move to authorize the chairperson of the RSU14 Board of Directors to appoint a working group comprised of members of the RSU14 Board of Directors and administrators to negotiate a withdrawal agreement with the Raymond Withdrawal Committee, subject to final approval of the withdrawal agreement by the RSU14 Board of Directors.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any conversation on this? Questions?
Yeah, so we're required to form this group, but the way in which we form this group, is that subject to any openness, or does it specify that you're the one that appoints the group?
That was his recommendation.
That's the recommendation.
That's why we took it, we specifically went to legal to find out exactly how we should do this, because it is a statute and we're trying to follow. And being a statute, it's sometimes a little gray when we read it. So getting a legal recommendation on what we should do, and this was his recommendation.
All right.
Alrighty?
Yes, all right, well, for the record, I'm fine with you authorizing or being the chairperson to appoint, but for the record, I don't agree with the selection process. But I'm fine to vote on this.
Okay. All those in favor? One abstention. Please note that Jennifer Moore is the board representative on the Wyndham Withdrawal Committee.
Raymond.
Raymond. I know, the Raymond Withdrawal Committee, so therefore she is abstaining from the vote. Okay. Saying that, going to just a little bit more.
Did we vote?
Never did.
Sorry.
I know, it's sketchy.
The heat, we're getting punchy.
I know, I think we are. And I think I will get out to everybody information as to who's going to be on that. I think I can share it with you now. I don't have to wait, so that everybody will know. The administrators will be Sandy and Dawn, and there will be three members. It will be myself, Kate Briggs, and Eric Colby. The reason for the folks that were picked, the main reason was for the fact of never sure when we're going to be able to have the meetings, so we needed some flexibility in time. I don't work, well, I don't work at the job I get paid for.
I was gonna say, you work a lot.
And she does not get paid for what she does, and
Just never get
Eric
paid.
was pretty flexible, he had pretty flexible hours. And of course, the other thing is, everybody needs to be aware of, is that we will report back to the board. I mean, we don't, this committee does not make final decisions on anything. It is going to be board decisions.
I do have a clarifying question. This committee does not engage until such time, I'm asking, until such time as it is absolutely official that the residents of Raymond have voted to withdraw. I mean, they voted to withdraw.
Right, they've already voted.
So.
Voted to explore withdrawing.
Well,
That's right.
It actually
that's
starts the
gray
withdrawal
area
process.
that I'm-
Well, the way I understand it is they've voted to create the committee to put the agreement, the withdrawal agreement in play, but there still is an opportunity for that community to not proceed further.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. So, when do we meet with them?
I would sense that that would be at the direction of the withdrawal committee, not, in other words, it's their place to tell you folks what they
When it
believe.
comes to the point that we're going to negotiate them
Yes.
to do the dirty deed. Okay.
That is.
Jen will keep us updated.
So,
I'm just going through this lengthy process.
Oh.
The steps. We are, I believe, down to, we're between steps 7 and 8. The withdrawal committee for Raymond has a chair now. It has its members. And now we're going on to 8, and the withdrawal committee is going to negotiate the withdrawal agreement with the RSU, and then we'll submit the withdrawal agreement to the Commissioner of Education. And that's where we are at the moment.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Alrighty, next on the agenda is, and again, this is on the cost sharing formula vote, and I apologize for the length of this, because whoever is going to read this will have to read the current method and then the proposed method. And again, this is for the recommendation of legal counsel that have drawn up this way. So everybody's pretty clear as to what it is and what it will be proposed as. And it's nice. It's a nice piece of information because it's condensed. It's pretty well. You agree, Jennifer? So you did most of the work on that.
Is it correct?
Okay, so if I could have a motion, please.
Should we draw straws?
I'll read it.
She has the most invested in it.
All right. I move to recommend a change in the method of sharing cost in Regional School Unit Number 14 from the current method described below to the proposed method described below. The current cost-sharing method is described in the reorganization plan of RSU14 as follows. The cost-sharing formula for the proposed Wyndham-Raymond School consolidation for the next 2 years, 2009-10 and 2010-11, will be calculated based on the prior 3-year average of the additional local-only funding. Raymond will contribute to the local-only debt for the Wyndham High School based on the prior 2-year average enrollment of students enrolled in Wyndham High School from Raymond. Otherwise, the bonds, notes, and lease purchase agreements issued by the Raymond and Wyndham SAUs before the operative date shall not be assumed by the RSU. This local cost-sharing formula applies only to the amount, if any, of additional local funds and adult education costs raised by the RSU. It does not apply to the required local contributions raised by each municipality pursuant to 20A MRSA Section 15688. The proposed cost-sharing formula of RSU 14 will provide as follows. Each member municipality shall be responsible for its percentage share of additional local funds and adult education costs raised by the RSU and shall receive the benefit of any balance forward from the prior year applied to the RSU's annual budget, calculated on the basis of each member municipality's valuation over the past 3 years. For example, fiscal capacity, as currently provided annually to RSU 14 on the Maine Department of Education's Form ED 279. Provided, however, that this cost-sharing method shall be phased in over a 3-year period by providing that all such costs shall be allocated to each member municipality for FY16, FY17, and FY18 as follows. 2016, Raymond has 42%, Wyndham has 58%. 2017, Raymond has 39%, Wyndham has 61%. And 2018, Raymond has 36%, Wyndham has 64%. This local cost-sharing formula applies only to the amount, if any, of additional local funds and adult education costs raised by the RSU. It does not apply to the required local contribution raised by each municipality pursuant to 20A MRSA Section 15688. The town of Raymond will contribute to the debt service for Wyndham High School issued prior to the formulation of the RSU, pro rata, based on the prior 2-year average enrollment of students from Raymond in Wyndham High School. Otherwise, the bonds, notes, and lease purchase agreements issued by Raymond and Wyndham SAUs before the operative date shall not be assumed by the RSU. All future local-only debt service and lease purchase obligations for school construction, school renovation, and minor capital costs shall be allocated to the member municipality in which the school facilities for which the obligation is incurred are located, provided, however, that a pro rata adjustment shall be made based on the prior 2-year average enrollment of students from the other member municipality attending the school at which the school facilities for which the obligation is incurred are located. Notwithstanding the foregoing, expenditures for school construction, school renovation, and minor capital outlay not funded by issuance of RSU debt or lease purchase obligations shall be allocated as costs to the member municipality in which the school facilities are located in the same manner as local-only debt service and lease purchase obligations with the same pro rata adjustment.
Yeah, just a second. You seconded it. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or anything on this? I know we've discussed it at length on different occasions. You all set to vote? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. All those in favor of the proposed new cost-sharing method? It is unanimous. Just for the record, on February 11th in the high school auditorium, there will be a public meeting for Wyndham and Raymond for input on this, because this now has to be voted upon by the public on March 18th. I don't, do you have the times?
Normally we do 6:30.
6:30, okay. March 18th, again, in the auditorium at the high school, will be the vote. And it will be a Wyndham Raymond, that's the date we'll be voting on, and it will be a raise your hand type of vote. It is not a referendum, yes.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we have sent this information along to legal counsel, so there may possibly be a change in the dates given the time frame that's required. I don't want to promise the dates
Oh,
until we
sorry.
receive back information.
It's what we were right
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
In
So-
the general vicinity.
It'll be in the general vicinity because we were trying to keep the dates within what the statute
Right.
was giving us.
So what we expect at the next meeting on the 21st would be calling of the hearing.
Right.
And a subsequent vote to call the actual public meeting.
And I know this is probably premature, but what communication vehicles are we using to get the word out for people to come?
The link is going to be going out hopefully in 2 weeks.
I think we need to
It has to go in the
pay
paper.
for it in the paper or ask for, it has to be in the paper.
And I think
The public meeting would have to be legally anyway called that way, not so much the hearing. So I hear communications imperative, I get it.
Well,
we don't want
I
to
mean, I understand what you mean by the legal, I mean, I'm reading those, don't ask me why, but the legal things in the paper, but people don't read those. I mean, I'm not normal, so. Okay, you and
So I'm
I are
not
not
normal
normal. But you know what I'm saying, they're,
Absolutely, thank you.
I can't, although I love the link, and I think we should continue to do the link, I think we can all agree that there have to be multiple, I love this, multiple pathways.
Yes, because it doesn't just impact people with.
Right.
Right. We've got folks that have no students, you know.
Some people who don't even leave the house Saturday, so it really needs to get out to everybody.
I think there needs to be some kind of powwow and a strategy, because this is pretty important stuff.
Thank you. It's wise.
And,
We will do so.
yes, and it's really, I think it's advantageous having it written the way it was, because I think it gives us the format of what we could actually publish. You know,
I think
for
what's
details.
What's missing here, though, is the dollar size of these. I think in the original presentation, we had given, for a $200,000 household, this meant, a $10 increase
I see
every
what
year,
you're
or
saying,
something.
yeah.
I don't remember what the exact number was, but these look pretty dramatic, changing, if you're thinking
Right.
of our
Bring it
$40 million
down. Let's bring it
budget.
down.
Let's
you know.
soften it a bit. I mean,
Make it
not soften
realistic.
it, a little bit,
Make
right.
it
No.
realistic
So
to the
people can
individual
relate to it.
homeowner.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
Absolutely. I think people learn in different ways. So some people, the visual will like what you saw in terms of the PowerPoint that John put together. I mean, that's something that somehow maybe we can do an abridged version of that. And as you pointed out, there was some estimations about what the change would be that would be important for people to see.
I
So
think that
Yeah.
needs to be distilled, so it's.
Right, this is the good legal version, but I
people's
think
eyes
there's
are gonna
more for
glaze.
us.
They're gonna glaze.
You know what
Public.
this is? This is like technical reading.
Right.
And believe me, I know that's
yeah,
boring.
we would like that.
It was fun to read.
No, an
You did a good
example is appropriate.
Excellent.
Yes, it is appropriate.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on to the report of the secretary.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 3rd meeting.
Second.
Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, close it. Board comment? All those in favor? It is unanimous.
I move to approve the December 10th, 2014 meeting.
Second. Any comment from the public? Any comment?
I was present at that meeting.
She's never missed a meeting.
Oh, it says you weren't?
Oh, the 3rd.
We need.
No, the 10th.
Oh, that's you. I know, I saw Jen,
He's reading
sorry.
the 10th.
I know.
So the 10th was the short meeting we had.
The 10th was,
It was-
wasn't that the expulsion?
Yeah, it was just one expulsion,
It was a special meeting.
right.
I don't think she was there.
It was.
No,
It
there
the-
was,
Oh, was
she?
it?
Maybe not everybody was invited.
no, we were invited. It
Were-
was,
No, you couldn't make it, some people couldn't make it.
It was just,
Right.
it was just an expulsion.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I guess I missed
She
it.
suggest.
because we weren't all there for that one.
No,
It was
I-
a special time, we had to squeeze it in.
That's
Right, it was
All
an
those,
additional.
all those in
Right.
favor? It is unanimous.
I move to approve the December 17th, 2014 meeting minutes. Minutes, did I say that?
Meeting minutes.
Meeting.
Meeting minutes?
Second?
Okay. Public comment? Seeing none. Board comment? Okay, all in favor? It is approved. Now we're only 5 minutes. Figure it out.
Got right up.
We're trying very, very hard to keep on schedule. Next on the agenda is policies.
I move to approve the second reading of the revised use of private vehicles for school business policy, file code EEBB.
Second. Any questions? You want to go into that a little
Was
bit?
this sent out to us ahead of time? My email's just getting
This
really...
is the second.
Yeah, there was
reading.
Okay.
I sent out a
boatload.
summary.
Yes, you did.
You've already done the first reading.
Yeah, this is a second.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, my email's going crazy
I think
lately.
this has been reviewed and reviewed.
I've-
It was.
Okay,
Yeah, it
what
was.
are the changes that we're reviewing in the second reading? Can you summarize that?
No.
No, okay.
Just
Just checking.
Well, you did last time.
Well,
It
I
was
did
at
last
first.
time, and I actually sent out to all the board members
Yeah.
and red highlighted everything that was changed. Please confirm that I did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
You did.
I'm sorry.
You did.
I did.
Okay.
I just wonder why I missed
that
it
look on, John. That's
recently.
I
it
did
would have
for the first
been-
reading. For the
Okay.
first
It's in
reading.
your computer somewhere.
It might have been a month ago.
I'll be happy
Maybe
to send it
November,
to you again.
because
I
these are
just didn't
December
think
minutes.
that I'd
Okay.
have to do it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was probably November.
Okay.
All those in favor?
The Jens tonight, right?
Yeah.
Really confused.
All righty.
I move to approve the second reading of the revised student transportation private vehicles policy, file code EEAE. Ditto. Summary was sent out.
I second. John?
I did.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm worried. I don't know.
No comment from the public, because we don't have any. Any comments from the board? No, I think we've discussed this one to death, too.
We did.
Okay, all in
Please,
favor?
please vote.
We did.
Okay, committee reports. Finance committee has not met.
So it was recorded from the
Again,
last meeting.
right, so has not met since then.
Preempting that meeting for the June.
Right, and facilities has not had a meeting yet.
Yes, we are meeting.
We meet frequently, actually.
A lot.
We are
We do.
meeting, first of all, next week, we're going to be meeting to talk about promotional materials being sent via our listservs. I've discussed this at previous meetings. We met with, just in brief summary, we met with town officials to get their take on how we might proceed, and so now we're going to kind of regroup again and see what we might want to present to all of you here at the board to consider. And then the second policy, we'll be meeting with Mr. Howell, so delighted, the end of this month. IKD, which I believe is academic recognition, but I can't remember. It is? Yeah. We've had lengthy discussions about the graduation policy, and that it's an incredible document. It's about 8 or 9 pages with lots of changes in it to meet the requirements for standards-based diplomas. There's still a lot more. There's a total of almost, I think, 11 to 14 policies that we have to review before we can have the whole package together. The graduation policy is on hold until we finalize my favorite topic, the capstone. And then that will be embedded in the graduation policies. So that's on hold, and now we're going to talk about academic recognition, which should be a lively discussion. So.
I know there's been a lot of discussion about that top 10.
Mhm.
Is that part of it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Excellent. Other, Cindy?
I was just going to mention, as you know, before vacation, we had quite a disruption before school vacation, and I was just so pleased to see that the parents and the independent acknowledged all the agencies and departments and police, fire, and it really is about a team effort coming together to make our children safe, and I appreciate that the parents took the time to put that in. So
Is that this week?
January 1st it came out.
Okay, just a minute.
So, and school's back in session and things seem normal, and we're excited to have a great 2015 year. So, thank you.
Any other committees that have met? Diana?
All right. Let's see. I am told that tomorrow we have our monthly student council school board luncheon at noon or so. 10. Just kidding. 10:30. Don't listen to me.
We're awake.
It was testing.
Good catch.
Let's see. Winter sports are in full swing. I've been to most of the basketball games. Both teams are doing pretty well. Let's see. The one act is starting to get ready for competition season. Actually, before vacation, we had our annual Ugly Sweater Day assembly, and there we announced what we collected for the Teens for Jeans collection that I was talking about through Aeropostale, and we probably raised 50 or so pairs of jeans, and so that was announced at that assembly, and we're really proud of that. So
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Yes, that's great. Excellent. That's good. Technical schools, there has not been a meeting yet. I think we're on long breaks. No.
Oh, I could speak regarding the SEA, Sedago Ed Alliance. We didn't meet in December, we're gonna meet in January, at which time I believe Linda Powell is going to present to us, probably among others, suggestions for how to move forward with the Alliance School. I think I've indicated that there's been some challenges with that school, with funding and staffing and so forth, and hopefully next week we'll be able to review a plan to support that program.
Excellent. Great. Anybody have anything else? Okay. We will then move on to board roundtable. Hey, Pete, we'll start with you at your end.
All right. It seems late because it was a while ago, but this is the first opportunity that I've had to just say what a remarkable performance it was of the Wyndham Chamber Singers for their holiday concert. Had the pleasure to attend the afternoon concert, had other people that wanted to attend, but one thing I've learned is you got to get your tickets early. It's a really, really great show, and I would just encourage anybody, when tickets go on sale next year, grab them quick.
That was good. Jennifer?
I don't think it could be said too much how proud I personally am of our staff and our administration for the recent crisis. And it comes home specifically today because my daughter's a teacher and they had a crisis in their school. And the contrast was, and not to the degree, but the contrast in the way the communication went and the way they dealt with it, it's like night and day. And so I think we're very fortunate to have the crisis plan that we have, and I know that Sandy and everyone else is going to be reviewing, kind of like let's review what went well, what didn't go well, because we're always tweaking and making things better, and I know you've gotten lots of feedback from all the sources. So I'm exceedingly proud of how this district handled it, how the police handled it. It was a fabulous collaboration. And and I saw the video, and I'm really excited that you got a basketball at the basketball.
I know.
It's in my office.
And a T-shirt. Right.
Were you there?
I was there. That
Were
was,
you?
yeah, it was just all the kids in their shirts that said thank you, and it was
That
just
was
really
cool.
moving.
Yeah, it was.
I just watched that today.
Yeah.
That really was awesome.
Very nice.
except for I thought you were holding a watermelon. It was at such a distance.
Diana, anything else?
I mean, I also just want to say thank you to all the administration and the entire community, really. A couple of friends and I were bombarded outside of Marshall's and interviewed for the Press Herald about it. And, I mean, it was a strange couple days, and that was Tuesday, and so we didn't know anything. We didn't really have anything to report. And, I just really appreciate everything that happened in those couple days, because it's one thing to not know anything, but it's another to know that you're safe. And so, I really thank everyone for that. And I think it can't be said enough how, it turned out really well. So.
Jen?
No, nothing else.
Okay, Mr. Howell, I meant to ask you before, and I'm going to have to ask you now. We were promised a junior at this time of year who will be our senior board representative next year. This is just kind of like a reminder that you're almost...
They're busy doing Java, which is coding.
Oh, you're looking up coding?
I've already done. Yes, Java is coding.
Java is coding?
Yes.
Oh, bravo. Hey, I'm a lifelong learner.
We will get that process going once we get that person in.
Thank you. There's a lot of great stuff going on everywhere. The arts, we are a very, very rich community. Maybe not so much in money, but boy, I'll tell you, we have a lot of talent in sports, in the arts, even in education, which is what we fully support. If anybody thinks we're slackers around here, we are not. You see some of the students who come back, and they're coming back from some pretty prestigious colleges and some pretty good jobs, So I think we do a pretty good job around here, making for a very, very well-rounded student. So again, I have to ditto Kate on how staff and the administrators and locally the police and everybody else handled that. What could have been really a very large fiasco. It was very, very well handled, and I don't think, personally, I have not heard one thing that was detrimental, or anybody say that something could have been different to make it better. So, thank you all again. And that is all I have, and so I will make everybody happy, and, yes.
I approve to adjourn the meeting.
Atta girl. Second. All in favor? We are adjourned.
Look at that. Look at that.
Look at
Look at that.